Okay, here we go. I'm recording. What's up, guys?
Oh, not much. What's up with you?
Guns.
What is up?
What is up? Supreme Court decision came out today about guns. I'm very happy about.
It is a very good decision on Clarence Thomas's birthday, so he got to pen the majority opinion.
Nice.
Everyone say happy birthday to Uncle Clarence.
First guns, then abortions, then the 19th Amendment. Yeah.
Hopefully. God willing.
So, welcome everybody. It's Three Homos and a Pussy here again for another cringy sexuality video.
This one for Pride Month. 23 days in.
Well, you know, on the Three Homos and a Pussy podcast, every day it's Pride Month.
Unfortunately, that's true.
I know we did a video previously a couple times ago on demisexual.
Yes.
And how women pathologize not wanting to have sex all the time.
Yep.
But this time we have a man who is saying he is asexual. Now, I have not watched this video.
Saying as if you don't believe him? Is that the tone that you're taking with this?
Oh, well,
I mean,
I haven't seen the video, so I can't make any kind of aims here, but it is certainly an assertion that bears investigation. Now, today we have Ray is planning to stop by a little later, but we thought we would get the show on the road until he shows up. So we will definitely see him later. But until then, it's just going to be the three of us holding down the show. And really, we're the only three.
Of course.
I mean, right. Who's even... Yeah, I mean, who's even the other one that's usually... I don't even remember his or her name. I don't know. Some dude from Finland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Giebel, Goebbels.
Goebbels.
Yeah, Goebbels Hustavarsson.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think he was from Minnesota.
Ooh.
Anyway, let's get into this video. Now we have talked about demisexuality, like Kava said in the past.
Which is on the asexual spectrum, just to point that out.
Great.
We're going to talk about asexuals and sex. This video by David J. Bradley. It's 24, almost 25 minutes long, so we should get this done in under 6 hours, I think.
Sounds
but
like a plan.
Let's just get into it.
So, ladies, gentlemen, and MBs, as you can see from the title of this video and my clothes, this is another asexual video. And, well, there is simply no avoiding it.
Another?
I got another. Did you see his Chiron, your cool ace uncle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Ugh. Is that cool?
I don't know. Do you really want to think about how your uncle doesn't like sex? Like, is that cool to think about with your uncle?
Comforting.
It is very comforting.
I mean, it's better than the uncle who's not allowed within 100 feet of a school zone. That's a step above. Not much, but it's something.
Nothing worse than being the cool uncle.
Pretty sure cool uncle or your uncle used to be a synonym for a confirmed bachelor back in the day.
You
right,
think
Danimal?
That's true here?
Somebody who enjoys the company of men? Is that who you're aiming at?
I'll let you figure that one out.
Someone lighten the loafers.
Guys are only 11 seconds in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Ray's here.
Ray's
Yeah,
here.
Ray is
here.
So
well, yeah, we only can be a...
He's our ace uncle.
Yeah, he's our cool ace uncle. You missed the Chiron. So you're just in time.
Ray, are you allowed within 100 yards of a school zone?
Well, I had to work as a teacher a little bit ago, so yes.
Okay, good.
Nice.
All right, let's see what third asexual video he said. He's done many before, so let's see.
Today we are going to be talking about SE in my Christian Minecraft server.
That's supposed to be us, by the way.
I was gonna say, unfunny joke is painfully unfunny.
Is that the gynocentric flag that he was writhing around with?
Yeah,
I kind of hope so, because it honestly...
The symbolism is just too good.
But this is supposed to be our stand-in for us asking the asexual man all the tough questions as he rebuts them professionally.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry. I hate to front load this, but is he honestly going to make an argument for asexual people who have sex?
Yes. This is
Maybe.
a common argument. I've heard this.
Does anybody know how much a 45 Magnum costs nowadays?
Too much.
I just want one that like it just kills the soul.
Well, that might be cheaper.
That's just a magnum of whiskey.
Yeah.
I just want to die, and I just want there to be no soul. I don't want there to be the chance that I
don't tap out yet. We haven't even gotten in the meat of the video.
Yeah.
Let's
there's so much
funny jokes coming.
There is so much to unpack with the mere statement of the idea that asexual people would have sex.
Well, he doesn't get to that until about 10 minutes in.
Oh, goody! I'm on the edge of my seat.
Hi, rhetorical device to voice questions and opposing viewpoints that is also being played by me because it's easier than trying to find a second person. You didn't even bother.
Don't explain your stupid, shitty joke.
No, that's the humor now. It's all
sucks.
valid.
It's levels of irony upon it.
To take the nail polish off. Well, it looks nice.
Does it?
I mean, you're not wrong. Now, I understand that talking about sex is something that a lot of people may take issue with. Some people are very sensitive about this particular topic, and I want to make it clear that when I'm talking about sex, I'm going to be doing it in a completely non-judgmental way. This is a sex-positive video, and that means that I respect your bodily autonomy to have as much or as little sex as you want in whatever ways that you want, as long as everyone involved is a consenting adult.
Thank God. I was getting worried.
I'm sort of transfixed by what he's doing with his hair. So it looks like he's got it on the one side, on the viewer's right-hand side, it looks like it's been shaved on the side, really close, kind of like an undercut. But on the other side, it looks like he just smeared it all back. And it's kind of, it just kind of brings his hairline up in a way that's sort of strange to look at.
Maybe it's a comb over.
No, it's not like Stanley Tucci and the Lovely Bones levels of comb over yet.
You know, I was going to make a horrible rape joke, but I'm thinking that it's no longer appropriate.
The asexual video, a rape joke? Don't you know what those people have been through? Don't you know how much people in history have been persecuted for not wanting to have sex and waiting until marriage or waiting until
all I'm saying is that my girlfriend says it's no fun if I'm consenting to it. So, you know.
For those who are bored with these discussions, I want to be clear that I will not be explicitly describing any sex acts because that would honestly be uncomfortable for me too. But I also want to make it clear that when I say sex, I am not just referring to penetration. That's just one part of sex, and if you think that's all there is to it, then honestly, you're bad at sex. You can take my word for that, because I've never had it.
Nice.
Virgin!
You've passed like some of the basic criterias, but I'm still not convinced.
He hasn't lost his virginity because he never loses.
Yeah! Penis in vagina. I did it. I described sex.
And remember, guys, everything outside of that formula is considered kink.
I mean, to be as fair as possible, to be as what is Adam's favorite phrase for this? Good faith Gary. I mean, he is right. I mean, there are other types of, I guess, sexual experiences besides penetration.
However, you'll see how much that holds up when we get to the kink part of the video, but keep going.
All I am going to say, though, in response to that, is that we don't usually call everything that is considered a sexual experience a form of sex. Like, I don't know if technically a hand job is actually having sex or not. I think it's just I think everybody would agree that it's a form of fellatio.
Isn't fellatio oral sex?
Yes.
Involving a penis and a mouth?
Yes.
I guess I would classify a hand job as a form of sexual activity.
Yeah, it's definitely sexual activity. So is rubbing against strangers on the bus.
Yeah.
Danimal, are you becoming a furry over there?
No comment.
Okay. Is that all? Well, there'll also be mentions of aphobia, other queerphobia. I will get into the kink at Pride discourse.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
I can't wait!
Don't worry, it's only like 4 minutes.
Only 4 minutes? That's like 1/6. That's like 1/6 of this video.
Oh no, aphobia, everybody. Cover your ears. People are gonna say asexuals don't exist or something.
You know what?
This video is gonna hit all bases, isn't it?
I've got to go for this one. I'm just gonna go straight for the throat with this, and this will probably be a joke that YouTube is super not happy with. But generally speaking, I would be afraid if you told me that you were genuinely asexual, because there's a good chance you're a psychopath then.
Wow, I wouldn't go that far.
You got at least probably, like a 30 to 50% chance
Well, just wait, because we're all jumping ahead of what he's gonna say. Because
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm like front loading my general knowledge on this stuff.
let's let the video unfold.
And there is a very fleeting mention of sexual assault, so just be aware of all that. Right. So.
Wait, did he spell assault wrong?
Yes.
Please tell me he did.
Assault.
Assault. The salt from my ass.
Look, he's
happens
spelling.
When you have sex in the ocean, okay?
Ooh.
It's very abrasive, very uncomfortable.
I was gonna say water's not a good lubricant.
How come all of the? Do you see on the pause like all the text is like reversed and mirrored? Weird.
We're only 1 minute 39 seconds in.
We get on with it then. Almost. Ugh. First of all, I've worn this outfit in like 3 whole asexual videos now, and I think it's about time for a change.
We're almost done with the vanity portion.
Alright, that'll do. You look like Adamant and the Joker ran into each other really fast. So, what's the first thing you want to know? How can asexuals even have sex? I mean, your whole thing is that you aren't sexual, so how on earth can anyone have sex and still be asexual? Isn't that a contradiction in terms? Now, I want to make one thing abundantly clear here. I absolutely cannot and do not intend to speak for all asexuals, even though I am their king. Asexuality is a wide umbrella term that applies to a lot of different experiences of people of all genders, races, body types, physical ability, and there isn't really any one correct way to encompass the entirety of it.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, so it's so vague, its definition is so loose and all-encompassing that it basically it can mean whatever you want it to mean.
That's gonna basically be me in this whole thing, is that because of the way that this guy and others do this kind of shit, this thing that was more or less, it was kind of in the realm of academic psychology, and it was almost on its way to being kind of a medical term, because it, spoiler alert, came up so often in mental disorders that it had a very specific useful term for it. And this guy is now going to explain how him and a group of a bunch of other people completely diluted that into fucking uselessness.
I know a lot of people compare these kinds of LGBT plus subgroups to like cults and so on, but I'm tempted not so much to refer to words like asexual as like mantras as much as I'm interested in calling them magic words. They're sort of incantations that can mean basically whatever the person using it wants it to do. It's like if you had a magic wand, or if you had like a magical staff, or some kind of magical power that you could throw in any direction whatsoever. That's what words like asexual, demisexual, and so on sort of come across as. They're magic words that can serve any real purpose. They don't have a set meaning. They don't have a set definition, or there's no consensus as to what they mean and how they're used. Kind of like words like feminism, capitalism, socialism, in a political sense. They don't actually have any set understanding. There's no common agreement as to what these words actually refer to or how they're used. They're just
excuse me. Capitalism just literally is defined as evil, sir. Come on.
It's exploitative.
All things that are bad are capitalism.
Yes.
There's an even more relevant example, which is, say, the definition of woman.
Yes.
Right? And I think this is a real problem for the progressives, because they want these definitions, right? But they also do not want to tell anybody that they are not valid. And it's you can't really have a definition without saying that some people don't get to count. Like, some people are not women. Sorry. Like, I know you want to be a woman, but sometimes you cannot be.
That's the point of the plus on the acronym.
Or if you want, say you're asexual, you have to at some point say, okay, no, you're not asexual. You're incorrect in identifying yourself. But they don't want to actually do that because they don't want to hurt or exclude anyone.
Like, if you wanted to use it as a term for you generally tried to avoid sexual encounters, or you were uncomfortable with the idea of sex, but we're still open enough to do it. I'm sure, like, there could be, like, a word or a term that we could make to help better describe that. Hijacking asexuality and describing yourself as that is not useful.
Especially when you're just widening out the term to mean fucking anything.
Yeah,
you can have sex and enjoy having sex, and it's still asexual.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you go down that route, and that's just the entirety of your description, that's pointless. What if I say?
Let's keep going.
Particularly from my very privileged position as... But this is a question and an assumption that I do see a lot. People take asexual to mean someone who doesn't want to or can't have sex. I see this particularly from well-meaning people in their attempt.
Says that it's people who can't have sex. Wouldn't that just be referred to people like who are some form of sterile?
Well, I mean, can't is maybe a wrong kind of word. Can't mean
I
was gonna say, like,
a person
maybe psychologically can't.
Sterile, I think refers more to the capacity to sire and have children rather than engage in the act of coupling itself.
Well, that's why
a sterile person could still have sex.
Well, that's why I said some form of like sterility, where like I don't know, you're missing genitalia. Yeah. Like you're like a eunuch or something.
I think what he's referring to is more a psychological state.
I was gonna say, I'm only asking the question because he brought it up and didn't explain it.
Well, let's see if he does.
I doubt it.
But it shows a lack of understanding of what asexuals actually experience. Our relationship to sex is more complicated than just, sure, sex is great, but have you ever been properly hydrated? How so? Well, asexuals can have sex, and plenty of them do. How is that asexual? Seems like any time that I discuss this, I keep having to go back to this very basic thing, but asexual...
Do you think it's because it doesn't make sense? Do you think that's why you have to keep going back to this very basic thing?
If something doesn't make sense or it's not congruent, you often find yourself stumbling over it constantly.
I was gonna say, I also just want to say, this really is a form of a straw man, because usually if people were just like, I thought asexuals can't have sex, it's not the phrase they would use. Like the phrase I would expect somebody to say is, I thought asexuals didn't want to have sex.
Yeah.
Right.
Meaning that if you said I was an asexual who had sex, I'm sorry to be this way, but I think most people would assume that you had some form of unconsensual sex.
Or you forced yourself into it.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't enjoy it. You had sex, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that's what that term evokes. That's like, it had a specific meaning until you decided that you didn't like that.
Yeah, we'll see kind of what he says about that, because he does say something that's kind of weird later on.
It just means that you don't experience sexual attraction. This is just one of the kinds of attraction that people can feel. When you look at a person and think, whoa, I would, I think. I don't know, I don't have it. Yeah, I remember this, and there's...
So did you get that asexual? Is that you don't experience sexual attraction?
Okay. Okay, I will give him that. That is a legitimate form of asexuality.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about this video. He doesn't define what sexual attraction is. So what he's about to describe, of what asexuals experience when they think about sex, and when asexuals who like having sex think about sex, he's kind of describing sexual attraction. I mean, we'll see, but...
Oh, so he fucking weasels around it to avoid having to...
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love it.
Romantic attraction, right? Right. The other one I don't have. I guess it's like when you look at someone and get butterflies in the tummy. I don't know, I only have cockroaches in mind. But there's also a couple of types of attraction I haven't really talked about on the channel before. There's aesthetic attraction, which is basically when you are attracted to the way someone looks, but don't have any sexual connotations behind that. So when I look at John Cameron Mitchell, Gillian Anderson, and Mads Mikkelsen...
He's trying to describe aesthetic attraction where it doesn't have any sexual connotations to it, but now he's like fanning him. Yeah, like he's horny.
Me.
But yeah, I mean, he's like fanning himself like he's horny when he's trying to describe something that's absent of sexual attraction. So like, what?
I was gonna say,
like, what are you trying to describe here?
Like, I can describe aesthetic beauty without getting all flustered. Like, I don't know what he's trying to describe here.
Look, I could say that Robert Downey Jr. is a very well-mannered, looking individual, and blah 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 blah, and I could describe how he might look attractive to somebody. That doesn't mean that I'm attracted to Robert Downey Jr.
You're not fanning yourself as you talk about it. Right?
Exactly.
Like what is aesthetic attraction? Because it's just things that you.
I would think it's a bullshit term because
Well, no, I mean, there's certain styles of dress, certain kind of way that people carry themselves that you're not necessarily sexually attracted to.
But the
cool.
way
I like that, I like seeing that, I want to emulate that, I like having that around me.
Well, yeah, sure, but the way that he's describing it and the way he's semi-defining it, his definition, at least from what we're led to believe from the little bit we're getting here, is just a nonsense term that A is contradictory and doesn't reflect reality, and B would just never be used in conversation pretty much under any circumstance.
Correct.
Seems to me what he's describing is if you feel an aesthetic attraction, that can lead you to having sex with them, which would imply to me that it is sexual attraction. If one leads to the other.
Macabre, that invalidates the asexual identity. What are you doing?
Look, again, maybe this guy is because the thing is, right, and I'm just gonna front load what I know about this from the just forewarning. All I have to go off of is my college course I took for psychology, but I did take 2 psychology courses, which was
wow.
One was a basic, and the other one was human sexuality. So, and that was a 300 level course. So that one was we went into detail about a lot of stuff. I loved that class. That class was fucking amazing. But neither we learned where the faux penis comes from.
But I've been wondering where it is. So I was just
it's down there somewhere. Usually hidden behind a massive hair.
Yeah, and a belly.
Belly fat.
Yep.
Gotta dig in there.
But really, all I'm going to say is I was given the one definition from my basic psychology course, and then that was never contradicted in my human sexuality course, which was just that asexuality is people who just do not experience a sex drive. And my one psychology teacher, who was also a therapist, a psychiatrist, was very nonsense about this. She described that as a mental disorder because not having a sexual drive at all actually causes a lot of problems.
Yeah, isn't it coupled with panic disorders and anxiety disorders, typically things like that?
You're horribly afraid of crowds. You hate being around people, any amount of people. There's been a few famous authors who I think were diagnosed as asexual, and they basically lived out on a fucking boat because it was the farthest they could possibly be away from other people.
See, now this strikes me as odd because it's not usual for the queer community to adopt mental illness as a personal identity label,
yeah,
right?
That's weird, right? That
never happens. There's definitely not a bunch of DID TikToks.
Oh God! But no, this is the thing, right? He's claiming to have all of the things of what I would describe as what would typically be the general mental disorder, and claiming to have it, while at the same time completely contradicting himself with his stated actions.
Right. Yeah, he wants the glory, but none of the work, is what it sounds like. But for some reason, they're tying this weird glory to having these
the idea
outside the norm feelings. I just don't understand.
Yeah,
stuff, honestly. I understand it from just people that just want to be unique and have an identity that sets them out from the crowd because it's the popular thing to do at the moment.
I wouldn't know an entire community of people who do that all the time.
But just the way that these things get picked, because why so let's stop pretending that this is a serious video and that we're going to learn something from this, because this is all just him tap dancing around the fact that asexual doesn't mean that you don't like sex. Why would somebody choose this label of asexual to represent themselves? What's the purpose of it?
Because it's unique, because it puts you at contradiction to pretty much everybody else in the world. It's about othering yourself, because if you're an outcast, then you can gain sympathy points for being an outcast.
Is it compensation for something?
I mean, it could be compensation. I think of it as, yeah, we're in a culture that is very hypersexual, and there are people who are going to feel isolated from that or estranged from it. And so it's a really easy place to set yourself to say, I am not aligned with this sort of hypersexual environment.
Is it a way where they just don't want to criticize the like sex positive culture and just like kind of be like, well, I don't want to be a part of that, but I don't want to, and I don't know if I don't think they're making this conscious choice, but it's more just, I don't want to be part of that kind of sex positivity. I find it kind of out there and gross subconsciously. So I'm going to adopt this label so then I don't have to be a part of that culture.
Well, it is an easy
I wonder.
Out. It's an easy way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if it's just a way for them to claim to be in favor of this stuff without having to completely contradict the idea that they think it's at a visceral level fucking disgusting and gratuitous, and they don't want
a good excuse to not do it. You don't have to participate.
Well, that right. To me, this really does kind of. I mean, if like kind of thinking about it more, I think that's kind of where a lot of this lies, is a theory of this, that these people who are adopting asexuality are the people who still want to be more or less allies, but like on a instinctual level, they see things like the kink at Pride and whatnot, and they know it's over the top. They know it's gratuitous and on a just fundamental level, pretty disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I can't quite figure out why somebody, because this is a choice. I mean, I don't believe that.
It might be mental conditioning.
Yeah, I think it's definitely mental. I mean, in the demisexual episode we were talking about, and I think I convinced Kav that that lady's slightly autistic at the very least. I mean, is that what this is? It's people on the autism spectrum actually trying to rationalize sexual feelings and just doing it.
And discomfort.
And discomfort.
That might be part of it. But I think, and I think I mentioned this on the demisexual episode before, that things like asexuality and demisexuality and that sort of turning away from sexual activity and sexual feeling might be a backlash against how hypersexual parts of the internet have become.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Like, I think that it's partially reaction against the widespread availability of pornography, which warps people's interpretations of what actual erotic contact between two people should be like, because it warps people, especially from a very young age, because kids are just getting online and seeing all this stuff for free. And that's not exactly a very good situation to be in. I can speak from personal experience. Things like that, the hypersexualization, the free availability of pornography, and a lack of social contact, and probably also rationalizations from people who are on the autism spectrum or who have some other kind of mental problem or dysfunction that doesn't allow them to participate normally and have normal relationships. And I think if they had normal relationships, they probably wouldn't be thinking of themselves as demisexual or asexual. They'd just be normal people.
Right.
Because frankly, a lot of this demisexuality and even asexuality can be construed as, in this context of not wanting to have sex or be sexual constantly, that's just normal human behavior. Because most people are not constantly, sexually aroused or interested or excited or interested.
Yeah, that's like only like teenagers, like when you're going through puberty and like just bathing in hormones.
Yeah, exactly.
As you get older, it just things slow down.
Like even going from being a teenager to being in your 20s, like it's a marked difference,
Right.
Hey, Focus. I'm sorry, I got distracted. But I can enjoy looking at people who I find aesthetically attractive and appreciate and enjoy how beautiful they are, and then that's it. I move on with my day. There is also sensual attraction, which is attraction to touch and physical sensation with people. Now, I know this sounds like it might be somewhat inherently sexual, but it isn't. It can be any kind of touching that you are attracted to, so hand-holding, hugging, kissing, stuff like that.
How are all of these things not like have a sexual undertone? Like
like bonding activity, physical touch with somebody
your mom, right?
Oh my god!
Absolutely.
I will say
to it makes it kind of
right. Yeah, like what kind of attraction? Yeah, what are you talking about with attraction there? I mean, I think every single human being on the planet likes like being touched, like hugging, shaking hands. Like we're very tactile species.
Oh yeah. So the next time I see you, Daniel, you're just gonna give me a big old smooch on the lips, right?
Yeah, I'll give you a butt pat. But no, like sensual attraction.
Yeah, I was gonna say when he's using the term sensual to describe these things, I'm sorry, I don't know. Also,
well, sensual literally means relating to or involving gratification of the senses and physical, especially sexual pleasure. That's what sensual means.
I was gonna say, usually when you say something is sensual, don't you like usually describe that like things that give you kind of a euphoric feeling?
Yeah, like sensual is usually like along the same lines as like erotic. Like you would say something's sensual or something's erotic and mean the same thing colloquially.
Right. Also, I'm not gonna contradict Tenny on this, but I will just say, because my views on this are slightly different. I don't know if it's pornography, for instance. I mean, obviously, I have kind of my own stance on that, but I think I do agree that this kind of stuff, it seems to arise from the fact that like the idea of like how openly sexual we should be is being pushed hard right now, and like it's kind of like the people who argue for no holds bar abortion. They just want it, they want like abortion at literally any point during the pregnancy, as like, yeah, that's absurd. But then there's people who like, they're part of the sex positivity movement, and they'll say kink at Pride is perfectly reasonable, and in fact, actually, we should be pushing more for this stuff to be out in the open. And it's like, no, I don't think anybody agrees with that. I think even the people who I don't know if I'm one of these people. I suspect I am, but like even the people who get past their teens and then find that they still have a considerably large libido, maybe even a abnormally large libido, would still agree that that stuff that's bedroom stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But but guys like this and people like him, they see it and they were like, well, I want to still stand in solidarity for this because to them, principles is standing with a message that they agree with the basic tagline with, and just going along with anything that's with it, regardless of how it might personally not be along their moral code or ethics or into it.
Right, and
instinctive.
Yeah, that was kind of my point, where they have an aversion to it, but they want to still be part of the club and not stand in opposition to it. I think that's why a lot of them choose this, because they don't know what healthy relationships are supposed to be, because they're so awash in this culture of sex positivity.
And that's really what strikes me here with this guy. It's like, it's okay to have a low libido. It doesn't make you asexual.
And he'll talk about that. Let's get a little more road under our feet.
Oh, goodby, I was right.
That all kinds of touch that can make people feel good and attracted to others, but don't necessarily tie into sex. Different people will have different connections to each of these types of attraction, and this is true for asexuals and allosexuals. Asexuals just talk about it and work to figure these ideas out of themselves more. All these different layers of attraction can play into whether or not people want to have sex with someone. If you're romantically attracted to someone but not sexually, you might still want to have sex with them as a way of expressing that attraction. But I still don't get how that can work without the sexual attraction. You don't need sexual attraction to have sex. Sex is just an activity that people do, and it doesn't rely on being attracted to someone to do it.
Oh,
yeah, do you think it does. It does.
How do you get it up?
How do you actually become sexually excited if you don't have some kind of something attracting you?
Some kind of instinct.
Something has to be. We need the meme of the monkey with the neuron activation. Monkey sees action. That's how instincts work. That's how the sexual instinct in humans works. That's
further than just that, right?
That's how every animal becomes, erotically excited.
Right. But like further than just that, like let's pretend, right, that like we like somebody did a sexual activity is purely just a almost transactional activity. There's no feeling or emotion behind it. They just want to have sex, the activity, period. Bullshit. There is so much like mental baggage that comes along with sex. Literally, unfortunately, I'll have to admit here, I'm in the same camp as this guy. I still got my V card, but literally everyone I've talked to about this says sex comes with a lot of mental baggage.
Yeah, it's not like he's like saying like, oh, it's just an activity, as if like it's like like it's like shaking hands, like it's just something you do. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's very involved. It's very in tuned. It's very intimate. You know, you have to really know the person. Like it's taking things to a different level with somebody. Like it's not just an activity that you do with somebody. That's not what it is. It's everything he was describing before, where it's an aesthetic attraction, it's sensual attraction, it's romantic attraction, it's all those things combined. That's why I was saying he accidentally describes what sexual attraction is by saying it's not sexual attraction.
He breaks it into pieces and doesn't realize that's what he's done.
Right.
Well, because everyone, like, you know, romantic attraction to someone, you know, all these things are underlined by the simple primal desire to have sex. Most actions that we do, it is it is one of our driving motivators, because it's the thing that makes us reproduce and continue the species and prevents it from dying out. I mean, it has a basis in evolution, and it, like, trying to atomize it like this just doesn't work, because all of these things are connected. It's the same
thing they do with biological sex and gender. They atomize everything.
Well, right. You know, as the intersexualists would like to say, these things do not exist in a vacuum.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Cobb, because they make it such a point to separate sex. Well, some of them do. Some of them like to combine it together for some weird reason. But they like to separate like sex and gender into these separate boxes, and never the twain shall meet, to atomize it in that way. Just like how he's doing with sex here. And they don't realize that they're just taking the whole and divesting the parts, but it still describes the whole, even if you're divesting the parts.
They want to break it down like this because they want to believe that these things exist as categories that we engage with, things a priori of sexual desires, and it's just like that's just not how it works. You know, when we look at these categories and stuff, there's always a driving motivator, and when you look at the driving motivator, yep, it's the basic primal desire to have sex with someone. And the problem is like when you break it down that deep like that, it makes it sound cheap, or
Is this a malfunction in pattern seeking?
I think so.
That's all progressivism.
A malfunction for pattern seeking behavior.
They don't understand patterns, how they work.
There was another thing I wanted to say.
You can't figure it out. Oh, it's such confusing. Like, literally no one struggles with this except you.
You know, Cav, the more times you say the name of that documentary, the more I'm going to ask if you guys want to watch that someday.
I've seen it.
I've seen it. And
I have not. I actually did want to see it, though. But
the interviews are interesting. Walsh is just kind of self-serving.
Yeah, maybe we'll do an episode talking about it, because it's kind of in our wheelhouse, but it's not quite what I wanted. But anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's focus.
All sex workers are just madly attracted to their clients, or that porn stars are actually always into each other? But porn stars and sex workers aren't asexuals. Some are, because again.
What? Wait, what? Which ones? Which ones?
No, we met one in our first. Yeah, we know one. We know one. We've covered him twice.
Oh, good. You know what? I don't know, but that's all I really wanted to say on that. Is citation needed? We can keep going.
Plenty of asexuals have sex, and it isn't at odds with the identity. But how do they do it? I said at the start, no explicit descriptions, remember? What I mean is, if they don't have attraction, then how do they get in the mood? How many times will I have to explain this? Libido and attraction are not the same thing.
Or shit.
Any number of things outside of your attraction.
That is.
Yeah, what?
What does attraction mean then?
What is attraction if not libido then? If we're not talking about romance, talking in a purely physical sense, where does attraction come from, if not your libido?
Does he think libido is just... And Kav, could you cover your ears, please?
Okay.
Does he think libido is just like morning wood? Like, and that's like what libido is? Like, just like having an erection with no stimuli?
He could,
because that's not even how that works. Like that. this is absurd.
No, you know what? Like I said, it's the wanting to atomize these things down. He wants to really make you try to believe that attraction is its own motivating factor, that it exists a priority of sexual desires, that attraction is just things that people have for other people.
Well, and remember, these are social constructionists, so he's kind of going at it from the fact that like attraction is something that you construct yourself and not just something that's innate.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the sex worker thing, and even the porn star thing. The problem with this comparison, these individuals are doing it for money and not for pleasure or something that they want to do. In fact, as I understand it, particularly on porn sets, a lot of these porn stars are on drugs to either dull their senses, or they're taking a lot of boner pills to try to get sexual feelings they don't normally feel any. There's a lot. It's very dysfunctional. It's just for money. What
it's entirely
he's
for
trying
money.
to describe are like asexuals who engage in sex for personal pleasure.
I mean, gay for pay is a real thing in the porn industry.
Yeah,
like there are men who are heterosexual that will do gay porn because it pays more.
Yeah, and they have a miserable time doing it, but they do it for money.
Yep.
This is not what he's describing. He's describing asexuals who are like, I like you, you're cute, let's have sex as a relationship, but somehow still asexual.
Yeah, also not to mention, these people in porn movies are actors. They are on
this guy thinks
for hours at a time during the day or whenever they're filming, and they have to do multiple takes, like in a regular film. Like everything about this is why I think so much of this is a response to pornography, because pornography is not real life. That is not how people. That's not how coupling works.
Right.
In reality, almost none of this that you see on websites that I won't name drop is real. It is all completely fictitious. It's all fantastical. It is all a fantasy.
It's
it is
like
completely. It's BS. Like that is not
like
how people. That's not how people. It's just not how people have sex in real life.
It's like looking to the Princess Diaries to understand how like a relationship is supposed to work.
I was gonna say
it's fantasy. It's not real.
I mean, it's like looking at any movie and thinking that it's an accurate representation of reality, unless it's like a documentary, and even those can be misrepresented.
Those are almost always misrepresenting.
Yeah,
by design.
But on some level, there's literally interviews actually going on with actual tangible people. It's not like say like an actual movie like fucking Transformers where
right.
Yeah, like that's the problem, is that this is the same thing with like porn on the horrible site that we won't mention, Grindr, but
yeah, we kind of got off to a side tangent on porn, but
this guy, I don't know what is going on with him, but he's clearly like
he's very much wants to hold on to this identity, is what he wants to. It's almost like he's like I wonder how many like asexual
he seems
people
very sexually confused, and like,
he does. But I wonder how many asexual people like just want to maintain that identity so bad that they choose to be celibate almost, which is almost like kind of what I feel the vibe from this guy. Like he is choosing to like remain celibate to maintain the. Because this is like his whole thing. He wears the purple suits. He's got the flags everywhere. He called himself the king of asexuals earlier. Like you look at his Twitter, this is like all he talks about. Like this is his thing.
The funny thing about this guy and his terrible strawman questions that he's asking himself is that these are not the first questions that I would ask. Because one of the immediate questions I want to ask him now, after he's defined all these things, is, well, what is heterosexuality in your definition? And then also, how does heterosexuality differ from asexuality?
Right. Yeah, because it's always set apart as like a separate thing, right?
Yeah. Well, it's supposed
not
to
always,
be.
But I guess. Yeah.
I mean, the actual literal category is supposed to be something different, but the thing he's describing is this guy could be like, I don't know, a closeted bisexual for all I know, and he just doesn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, that could be it too. I mean, that's
like the way he's describing things, the way he's talking about it, like it just sounds like somebody who has like this intense anxiety around sex because they've had like some sort of like warped perception of it.
You know what? That actually, you just brought up a really good thing that made me think that like having this as an avenue for people to join the asexual camp is kind of what people who struggle with kind of accepting their sexuality kind of go towards, where they're like, you know what, I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with, maybe thinking that I'm bisexual or homosexual in some way. So then they'll just choose to not even think about it and just be like, you know what, I just will never have sex. Like that's like,
yeah.
Have you ever heard of the comedian Todd Glass?
I have not. However, really quickly, I will say, anecdotally, there was a kid I knew from the time I was in middle school to high school who, in middle school, claimed he was asexual, and then I think either sophomore or junior year, he just was out of the closet, like admitting that he was just gay, and nobody was really surprised by it.
Yeah, it's like so. Todd Glass is a comedian that's older, very lefty. But he came out way late in life. Like he was struggling with being homosexual like his entire life, and like he was totally in the closet, didn't want to talk to anybody, wouldn't even like broach anything sexual in his life just to like avoid that, so then he didn't have to deal with it. And like I'm wondering like if somebody like that now had this option in this community to just declare that they're asexual, that then they don't have to confront that, And I feel like that's what this is. That's what this all feels like, is just, I don't know. It's strange because that's where I think, because I listen to kind of spin off to like a trans topic, but like there's some of the detransitioners that I listen to, and when they detransition, they were like, look, the main reason I transitioned in the first place was because I didn't want to accept that I'm homosexual, really. And that was like, if I had the option to be a heterosexual woman or a heterosexual male, I would much rather choose that than having to confront that I have these homosexual feelings and having to deal with that.
What do you suppose so many of these I don't call them famous, like I guess notable, like above 100,000 subscriber YouTubers who end up like just getting late transition or like not surgery, but like just
I can't imagine who you're talking about. Because
okay, here's the problem with you saying that. There is actually so many now.
I know. I'm being cheeky because we covered one of them.
I believe it, but like, what do you suppose these people are going to say like late in life when like all this stuff kind of dies down? Because I am firmly in the camp that it's a fad right now.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the question. That's the big question everybody's asking. And
what's the damage going to be, and what's
the transitioner who's getting a lawsuit? Right?
Oof.
Against their surgeon.
Oof.
Well, there's going to be a lot of that too.
But yeah,
that right there was like the real reason I wanted to watch the Matt Walsh documentary. Was not because of like anything Matt Walsh. It was like, I don't care about Matt Walsh. Like I saw a little bit and I was like, oh, okay, I know what he's all about. But like at least the topic he was covering, I was like, well, yeah, I want to know more about this from the people who have either been through this or are arguing in favor of this shit.
And that was thing that was kind of missing from it. He didn't talk to.
Yeah, I know. But like I said, we can talk about that in another video. But yeah, unfortunately, it's a question where the answer is just going to have to come naturally. Unfortunately, it's nothing that we can answer at the moment.
It's almost like any.
We can make predictions. We can see the answer coming, but.
Have an effect on your arousal. It can be incited by touch, sound, sometimes just for no reason at all, or with the help of chemicals.
Chemsex.
Arousal is brought about without attraction all the time, and, well, if you were consenting, then it can be a short step from arousal to sex. I'm still confused here. Big shock. I mean, you keep talking about how asexuals can have sex, but I thought asexuals all hated sex. I've seen the memes you all share, the posts that you make. From what I can tell, thinking that sex is gross and weird is a prerequisite to your whole thing. That and liking purple too much. I don't like purple that much. Just because I have a purple jacket, shirt, towel, notebook, second smaller towel, cat brush, other notebook, laptop, and mouse.
See what I'm saying? How it's his whole thing? Like
I officially dislike this guy now, not because he's asexual, but because he's ruining the color purple, which is my favorite color.
Oh no!
Look,
maybe you're asexual.
Look, it's very clearly this guy's favorite color, but it's also like a meaningless thing to point out how many fucking purple things you have.
Right, and it's clear, like, because he ties the purple to asexual so much that it makes me think, like, well, did you get these things because asexual? Is that why? Not because you like the color, but because you like the identity the color brings.
Man,
like he's the one making that connection, you know? Right.
You are a cis white man.
We'll see what the future holds.
Washcloths, duster, crockery set, cutlery set, third notebook, and miniature wheelie bin. All right, but I get it. I see how looking at a lot of asexual interaction.
I just really wanted to make a joke about how he failed because his stupid audio dampening, I forget what it's fucking called, in the background was black and red. Missed opportunity there. There's don't tell that you couldn't find it in purple. Bullshit.
Those are expensive.
I know. Which is also why I'm saying don't fucking tell me you can't find it in purple, because that's why it comes in every color under the sun. If you're gonna invest in this expensive as shit, might as well get it custom.
Sexual interactions online, you would get the impression that we all hate sex. It does seem to be our favorite joke.
Well,
meme review.
Yeah. For good reason too, because it's part of the category.
Here, let's take a look at these memes real quick.
When they invite you for coffee at the end of the day, put once inside, they start making sexual advances instead of refreshments.
That's pretty good. Are you making coffee or not? I like these memes. These are good memes.
Yeah, some of these aren't actually that bad.
That's I go in and I'm like, where's the coffee?
Yeah, hey, wait a minute. I thought I was coming up for coffee.
Make me coffee, and now you're not making me coffee? This is a ripoff.
It kind of reminds me of the joke video I saw a while ago where it looks like it's a start to a bad porno where the woman hires the plumber to come over to fix her pipes. But like it's an actual plumber, and he just starts talking about all these things he needs to do with his sink, and then she tries to keep making all these innuendos, and he just keeps taking it literally.
But look at these memes. Like, I don't really tie any of these memes to like asexual. They're just kind of funny memes. Like the movies Be Like, that's kind of true.
Great actors, great plot, great theme and structure, useless sex scenes. Yeah.
Indeed, they can be annoying.
Yeah, I don't. Once again, I mean, like
I was gonna say, wasn't that like one of the things about Game of Thrones is like people pointed out all the weird gratuitous amounts of sex in this show or whatever.
Yeah, that was a running joke. Yeah.
But like once again, it's like I don't know. He's just describing like general feelings that people have, but then pathologizing it down to like a pinpoint and saying that like, oh, this is what I really grasp onto. This is my identity that sets me off from the crowd.
Okay, I gotta admit that one that's a dad joke there. What's your idea of a perfect date? And it does the day, month, the year, and all other formats are confusing. Really? Okay, I can laugh at that. That's pretty good.
That's an anti-American meme. We do month, day, year.
That's right.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Month, day, year. Superior format.
Oh no, yeah. Like I don't know. Like
yeah, like these are just funny
memes.
Like
that one legitimately is like a European dad joke.
Right. Totally.
Mm.
The other, like the movie one, is like just actually a critique of movie. Like when he says that these are memes, like from the asexual communities, it just means that these are ones that are commonly spread around with them because it reaffirms their biases.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just affirmation instead of the way that most people would see these as just funny memes, you know?
Seem to be our favorite joke. Plus, allos who are trying to be inclusive of us will say that you shouldn't talk about it so much because it will make us all uncomfortable. It's very easy for people looking from the outside to get that impression that this one...
He said allo a few times. What's allo?
Allosexual.
Yeah, what is that again?
Allo is usually used as a prefix to designate normal. So allosexual, allopathic, allistic.
Okay. People who are
alloromantic.
Allosexual are those that experience sexual attraction to others. So
allo just
he's already
normal.
Okay. Because
wait. It's the asexual version of cis.
Yeah, yes. That's it. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, it's the asexual version of cis.
You made up your own term. This own term that is not clearly defined, could have been used for anything, including describing your very specific situation, which, by the way, is still not asexuality. And you don't see the problem with just not deciding to use that word?
I know. He described all the components of sexual attraction, but he didn't call it sexual attraction, so therefore he's asexual.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The funny thing is, as I think about it, you know why they don't use their own terms like this?
Why?
It's because of like the 76 genders memes.
Yeah. Everybody wants their own special little club.
Well, and like how many times have you seen like the meme where it's just like it's circles and it's just like actual reality, and then like it has the rest of them circle and it just says things like mental disorders. That's the reason why they want to co-op other words and phrases.
It's true.
View on sex comes programmed into all aces, but if you look into it for even a little bit, you very quickly realise that it isn't like that at all, and the attitudes towards sex are actually wide and varied. Care to elaborate? Preferably with some defined categories that can make it easy for someone to understand? Sure. So, generally, attitudes towards sex can be broken down into 3 categories. These are sex favourable, sex indifferent, and sex repulsed.
Hold on. You're gonna do all of this now. Why couldn't you do this earlier with all the other fucking terms you were just dropping in your video?
Oh, to be fair, he's 7 minutes and we've been pausing the past hour.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Yeah, it's still pretty early in the video.
Fine.
But he's gonna break all these down. Let's see.
Here's my problem with that, right?
Autism incoming. Let's go.
Yeah, this is.
No. Here's my problem though with this, because like clearly, like the whole video is like probably going to be about like these 3 categories, but he said a whole bunch of other phrases and didn't clearly define them. That helps confuse and muddy the waters behind this discussion, like out of the gate. So by the time you get to this point, your perception of what this actually means is already kind of fuzzy.
Yeah, it's almost like there's not a solid foundation to any of this thinking, huh?
Well, and it's on purpose so you can weasel around most of this shit.
I don't think it's on purpose. I think that there's just not a solid foundation, so it's difficult to explain.
Research he's going to cite, hook people up into machines and measure their brain activity? Or
does LGBTQIA wiki count as research?
Yes.
Then yes, there's plenty of research.
Okay.
Now, you can what each of these means just from the names, but I'll get into it, obviously, because that's just kind of what we do here. So, let's start with sex favourable. Very basically, this is people who are okay with sex. They are comfortable with engaging in sexual acts and are likely to seek out a sexual relationship.
Why?
They may enjoy the physical experience of it, they may do it for the sake of an allosexual partner, they may do it because it's entirely their own business and we don't need to speculate.
But why, though?
So they're just,
why would they do it?
So then they're not asexual.
Yeah, aren't they? This is asexual still, right?
Yeah, so this is asexual, sex favorable. This is all of the defining characteristics of it. Tell me how this is not just some other sexual form that may
just a normal person.
Just normal.
Yeah, I was gonna say this could be heterosexuality, this could be homosexuality, this could be bisexuality, but it can't be asexuality because it's completely contradictory to what asexuality as an actual defined medical and psychology term is.
Are you saying that sex favorable asexuals are not valid? You better watch your words.
Yes.
He might not be saying that, but I am saying that.
Yes.
I am definitely saying that.
Triggered.
I'm sorry. I was like, can I spin this into a joke? Yes. But the simplest joke imaginable.
So this is just describing a normal person. Let's see if the other two.
Speculate on why. If we accept what I've already said, that there doesn't need to be a connection between sexual attraction and actually having sex, then sex favorable asexuality should be pretty easy to grasp. Okay, I think I get that. So the other 2 categories? Next we have sex indifferent. This is the category for people who have no particular strong feelings about sex one way or the other. They aren't inclined towards it, but it doesn't put them off either. This is probably the one that I would describe myself as. Sex isn't a thing that I have any personal interest in doing, but I'm not upset at the idea, and I suppose if I wanted to for some reason I could, but...
This, good faith Gary right now, this could actually be a definable new newish version of asexuality.
I mean, I guess.
If I could believe that someone could actually have these kinds of feelings about sex.
I mean, I guess, but everybody has different sexual drives.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like he was talking about libido earlier, but like everybody has different levels of libido that ebb and flow with your life and where you are, what you have going on. If you're really stressed at work, you're probably not going to be very sexually active. You know, if you got a lot of things going on, you got financial stress. You know, I mean, it ebbs and flows with life. Like I don't really see it as a separate category because I think everybody is going to be
that's the other thing about this, and that's the thing he's intentionally done with this video. Like I said, with muddying all the water preemptively, is to try to build in your mind that this might be something that sounds reasonable. Except the problem with this is, and because I just said that like I could believe that something like this could exist if it wasn't for the fact of how sexual drive affects people just period. Because like what he's describing is the idea, and I've heard many people who say they're asexuals describe this. He's describing the kind of person who would have a romantic relationship and have a partner but have no desire to have sex.
So a heterosexual relationship with a woman. Rim shots.
But here's the other thing about this, right? Like, I could honestly just like see this as being something where it's just like micro libido or like a strong, a libido that is still there because you still function mostly normally, but like for some reason there's like a weird indifference to sex. Because I can believe that something like that could exist. I don't think it's asexuality, but I do agree that it probably is some form of deficient libido syndrome or something.
I think this usually describes like an older person. Right?
Like, no strong feelings.
Yeah.
I take issue with the idea of, so on screen, one of those little bullet points is, I don't want to do a sex. Thanks. I find something interesting about the way that that's worded, because it seems to view the sex as purely an action, as purely a transaction or some kind of engagement between two people.
I mean, he said that earlier, where he's like he's totally separated sex as like from like a handshake.
Yeah,
from a denotation perspective,
that
and from
to a really a really bad way of looking at it, because
I was gonna say that's
obviously and self-evidently much more to sex than just the act of genitals against genitals or genitals in genitals. There's more to it than just, what was it Marcus Aurelius said, like a friction and then the emission of a little mucus or fluid. There's a quote from Meditation where he talks about
getting me hot over here.
He was very dispassionate about that. He only basically did it out of duty to have children as the emperor. But
so he was an asexual, is what you're telling me. He was a sex indifferent asexual.
Shut the fuck up. But
he could have.
I think that the way in which they view sex as purely an action or a transaction is part of the problem here. That's not how sex works. That's not how Eros works.
Really, really, really quickly here. After staring at this screen for a really long time, and based off of the literal words he said and this bullet point of not against it, that's 100% contradictory, actually, because you are against it because you don't want to have it. And even the way he described it is just like they'll just engage in it or whatever, but like they don't want to have it. Blah blah blah. It's like, well, then what?
It doesn't seem very pleasant.
It also doesn't sound very consensual. It just sounds like. I mean,
like you need to be talked into it. Yeah, that doesn't sound.
There's like a whole bunch of easy. There's like a whole bunch of easy jokes we could make here about wives just being like, "Yeah, sure, fuck it."
All right, let's see the third category.
All right, let's
have a lot to say on it.
Just not for me, really. Also, I want to make it abundantly clear that this doesn't mean it's okay to say sexualized things about me. Just don't do it. So I'm guessing that
I don't care.
People that don't like it. Well, that's the simplified version, yeah. Sex-repulsed people or sex-averse people do not like sex. This can vary from just not wanting it for themselves, but being fine with the concept in things like porn and movies, to the very thought of it at all making someone's skin crawl. For some people, it's just a lack of interest, similar to that of sex in different people. For others, it is outright disgust and genuine physical revulsion. That sounds...
So this is what you were talking about earlier, Ray. With
that was the actual category,
right? And this is where like mental disorders come into play. This is where like things like past trauma come into play. I mean, I know that women some of them have experienced rape or sexual assault will end up growing adverse to sex in general.
Well, sure. There's that kind of stuff, but like specifically like the one I was taught about and was like categorized as actual asexuality was not like something brought along by trauma, but rather like something that was obviously like a deficiency in brain chemistry or something that caused somebody to not have a sexual drive at all.
Right. You should probably, if you have a huge decrease in your libido all of a sudden, or you don't have a libido, you probably should go see a doctor.
Yep. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. They ended up having. This is why it was, because it was stated to me in no uncertain terms. It was like 1% of all people are asexual, an extremely low amount, more or less. Yeah. And the reason why is because, like, if we're just going to go at this from a biological standpoint, which the sciences do, how many things are driven by your desire to have sex? And now imagine all of those the underpinnings of all of those things being completely absent. You don't have a desire to be nice to people even.
Well, and here, I mean, what he's describing is literally the DSM diagnostic criteria for sexual aversion disorder, which is here. I'll just read this really quick. It says that it emphasizes the phobic qualities of individuals with SAD, sexual aversion disorder, who are highly avoidant of all forms of sexual contact. Much has also been written about the overlap between SAD and panic states, and the more obvious similarities between SAD and anxiety as opposed to sexual desire as described. So it's linked to other kind of major disorders that you should probably go seek assistance with instead of wearing it as a flag on your fucking lapel.
I heard there's a psychological condition that you can, especially women, can get. You're so like, I don't even know if it's trauma, but you're so instilled with a repulsion against sex that if you ever try to engage in sex, it's like your body just has a response that makes it very difficult, painful.
Yeah, and this was my other thing. Basically, yeah, this was the other thing about like what I said about like there being famous authors who were classified as asexual because them being a writer was their coping mechanism. Because like the thing is like this is such a bizarre like state of being and like a mental disorder that has been around for quite a bit. So the problem is how do you treat this?
Well, there are treatments that are involved in this, which is like the same kind of treatments that you would do for any kind of phobia, which is like kind of generally, having like a routine where you expose yourself to sexual contact with yourself, things like that. I was reading about the treatment for it, but yeah, it mostly has to do with like cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah, I admittedly I don't know a lot about that. But I do know that like there would be like ones where, and I was probably only told about the most severe cases where they get into adulthood and they just couldn't fix the problem. But like the thing is that they could still, for the most part, interact in society in some sort of fashion. And so that's why a lot of them end up becoming these like hermits that just do things that just don't really involve other people.
Right. Here, let's keep going because this gets a little more crazy.
Oh boy.
Sounds like it's unpleasant. It can be, I'm sure. When you consider how sexualized the world is, if being around that stuff makes you feel uncomfortable, then yeah, you're going to be uncomfortable a lot of the time. What makes a person like that? Well, nothing has to. For plenty of people, it is just how they are. There are times when it is linked to trauma, but by no means should we assume that this is always the case when speaking about sex repulsion. We need to listen to people who experience this and trust them that they know themselves and their boundaries. Just need to have some basic respect for people's...
I take umbrage with the idea, because I can tell by the way that you're wording this, that you're trying to weasel this as like some sort of like affirmed identity, which it's not. If you said that like some people are just like this, and it's because of biology, I would accept that. However, I'm not ignorant to the way that you've worded the rest of this video, and I know what you're doing here, and go fuck yourself.
Right, I know. It's just he's just affirming it as an identity when it's like, no, this is like a diagnostic category here that there might be something further going on with you that you should seek assistance with from a medical professional.
Like homosexuality.
Yeah,
it's just, but does
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was
don't say inconvenient truths here. We
does not fly a bit in the face of being sex positive. I mean, if people are so against sex, does that not stand against, say, supporting sex workers? Well, I don't think that sex repulsed people tend to be swerfs. We need to be clear that sex repulsion and sex negativity are not the same thing. You can be personally repulsed by sex and still be supportive of other people's sexual autonomy.
See, here, now this ties into the point I was making earlier, which is why you would choose the identity of asexual, because he's making a point here that it's not sex negative. Do not think of it as sex negative, that what we're doing here. And that's why this is kind of feeding into my theory as to why this is a choice for an identity, because you see the inherent, you are disgusted by the sex positivity, or the way that he was describing it. He was saying disgust often, so I'm just going to use that term, disgust. But you don't want to criticize.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah, that's a good point, actually. But no, like here's the other thing too, right? Like outside of his framing, yes, many asexual people did not care about if other people had sex. They just didn't ever want to hear about it in any capacity, in any way. They just kind of wanted to pretend like it didn't happen, even though they knew it literally did all the time.
In fact, a part of sex positive should be speaking out for those who are repulsed by sex, to make environments that are safe for them to exist in without fear of having to deal with it. But the correlation that some people try to put between asexuals and sex negativity is something that we'll definitely talk about later in this conversation. Alright, so is it more asexual to not want sex? No. There is no correct way to be ace.
Okay, well, I mean, that's kind of a lie, though, isn't it? It's kind of a lie, though.
Shouldn't there be a prerequisite being asexual, though? Some kind of requirement to meet the basic definition of asexual?
Like, no, we're all asexual. It's fine.
You know what, guys, I'm coming out and I'm being very bold about this, right? But I identify as a man and a woman.
You're bigender.
I am
so brave, so stunning.
Demigender.
Because I mean, after all, and I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to go on HRT. I'm not going to change anything about myself. I'm just going to identify as these categories because, after all, they don't mean anything, right?
Right. Yeah. You can just kind of wear them like pins on your lapel.
Absolutely. I'm also a homosexual who doesn't like the gays. So there you go.
Oh, nice.
I've seen. You know what? You joke, but I have seen that on Twitter before, people who identify as homosexual but are still attracted to women.
Oh, okay.
That's a thing.
Okay, because it's like we've been saying, it's just taking terms and just eviscerating meanings for God only knows what reason.
To bring about the utopia.
Yeah, because they don't believe in any of these.
Yeah, they don't believe in definitional categories. They think it's
the problem is though, like the thing is though, is that they do, but they want everything to be confusing and muddied, so that way they could just feel like they just want to be able to feel.
They want to feel control.
Everything about this, all of these things that this man is going through, is just supererogation. It's not required. It's entirely optional. It's supererogatory.
Okay, Vosh.
Okay, Vosh. You gonna ameliorate this too?
There's no way to ameliorate this squalid man's condition.
Did you know in Mexico water is called aqua?
In Mexico, water is
aqua. My God! I saw.
Didn't even pronounce it
I
right.
know it's the best part.
I saw a little bit of that.
It's so
yeah, I need to watch.
I highly recommend that entire debate. It's
from
start to finish.
It is art.
That
debate is art.
I will actually say I don't know why that guy talked to Vosh, because that guy clearly had better things to do than engage with him.
I think it sounded like he was just like an academic who had no idea what any of this was, and he got an invitation. He's like, oh, okay. And then he did research into Vosh, and if you watch the beginning, he has a whole slideshow with citations of things Vosh
No,
said.
I know. I saw that. Like he had it down to the minute and stuff of when Vosh said something, so you can go look it up.
Wow, it's almost like he's a professional academic who's engaged in academic discussion before. Unlike
I'm
Bush.
sorry, but like that's the thing I'm getting at though. Like you could say like, oh, like maybe he just didn't know, but like clearly he had to know something about Vosh after all the research he did. Was it just too late to back out at that point, or maybe he just thought it would be funny to argue with this?
This is what passes for discourse. I think I'm gonna have a good time here.
All right.
I was gonna say.
However you experience your attractions and choose to label yourself is equally valid to anyone else. Certain voices may seem more prevalent in the community, but there is a place for everyone. Fair enough. So, those three categories sum up all asexuals' attitudes on sex. Well, obviously it doesn't all map out so neatly in practice. These categories are all umbrella terms that encompass a wide range of experiences.
Umbrella terms within
between some
umbrella
of the
terms.
categories, and some people may move around in the way that they feel about it at any given time. For instance, demisexual people might be repulsed or indifferent, but change to favourable after they develop an emotional connection with someone. Or something I recently learned about, phrasexuals might start out as favourable but become indifferent or repulsed as they develop that relationship.
No.
It's called being a sociopath.
Phrasexuals are just fuckboys and thoughts. We are not about to give fuckboys and thoughts and whores their own little flag and little identifier. Go away. Shut up. I don't care. Cope, seethe, mauled, dilate, whatever buzzword. Go away.
So that's what phrasexual is.
You just lose interest.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, you just don't want to have sex with them anymore after you.
I was going to say,
I am not about to give sociopaths and whores their own sexuality. I am not about to allow this on God's earth. I will not tolerate this
I mean,
absurd and utter heresy.
You know,
I mean, hold on.
Go ahead, Ray.
I was gonna say, I will agree with you on not giving whores and fuckboys and thoughts all their own sexuality, but like on a serious note, that's like just not a sexuality, like asexual. That's just like sometimes what happens in relationships. You think you're so into this person, you get closer to them and stuff, and then you start being with them on a regular basis, and you realize, oh, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
Right.
I mean, that just happens.
That happens, but he's specifically tying it into as you have sex with them, you become less emotionally bonded with them.
Look,
that's not a sexuality. That's called a character flaw. That's
called sociopathy. That's just like that's the Dennis Reynolds.
It could be sociopathy,
approach.
and it could be a host of other things. But yeah, it's not healthy.
Imagine, this must be like some of the most just depressing experiences that people have. Just imagine being super into somebody, love everything about them, they're great, they support you when they need you to be there, but like just every time you have sex with them, it just feels like it was worse than the last time. That must just be a waking hell.
Yeah.
The phrasexuals phrasexuals just like demonstrate value, engage physically, nurture dependence, neglect emotionally, inspire hope, and separate entirely. It's basically the Dennis system from It's Always Sunny. That's what this is.
Dennis is phrasexual.
Dennis is just a straight up psychopath.
Here's the thing, though, right? Like, just like look at how many types of sexuality is said to exist now, and tell me that this isn't just the new version of the 72 genders meme.
Yeah, it 100% is.
That not every asexual person that you speak to will have this labeled. Not everyone needs to stop and think about that aspect of themselves enough to try and categorize it if they don't want to.
Labels are not mandatory, then why are you calling yourself asexual? Why are you resorting to labels if labels aren't mandatory?
For the social points.
Look, dum-dum. Stop being a dum-dum. Go to the brain store and get some gray matter and have the surgeon put it inside your head.
You know what the thing is about all of this shit, right? It's just a new way to get high.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like a, I don't really know how else to describe it other than like some sort of socially constructed drug. And I don't even mean that to be like, oh, like, it's just all social. I mean, like, it's just something that, like, by people getting high off of their own ideas and like the things they want to be a part of, the things that they have socialized themselves into, to just feel good.
It's just a pursuit of dopamine hits. It's just a pursuit of dopamine hits. People are trying to get the next, get that rush over and over again.
People crave being part of a community, and the only requirement to be part of the LGBTQIA plus community at the moment is to just call yourself a label, and all of a sudden you have all of this community behind you, and that's comforting to a lot of people. I think that idea, that like romantic idea of being a part of a community, but there's no work to be put in for it to earn that, so it's ultimately empty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is why you form this feedback loop. Because this guy, I mean, we hinted earlier, it's like, oh, what does the future hold if he's going to remain cis? This guy ends up being non-binary like a few months after this video. I don't know where he is now, but that seems to always be where it goes, is that it just keeps heightening and it just keeps heightening and forming this feedback loop because you don't actually get anything from being part of this community.
It's like using heroin or other kind of like addictive. It's drugs. It is drugs.
Well, that's the thing I'm talking about. It's just like all of the, like I said, there are so many YouTubers out there that just end up becoming trans, and it's because it feels like, at least just from an outside perspective, that they do this because feeling good about agreeing with the narrative isn't strong enough anymore. They need to seek out a bigger high.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm guessing from the way these things tend to go with you that this is also information that allosexuals could use to think about themselves. You got it. As ever, this isn't anything specifically to do with sexual attraction. It's just that some asexuals, like me, spend more time thinking about the intersections and differences between sexual attraction and sexual action. Partly out of curiosity and to understand ourselves better, partly because I guess it sometimes feels like we have to justify our existence, especially sex-positive asexuals, ace kinksters, ace sex workers. By not understanding the difference between them, people can think that being okay with sex somehow invalidates an asexual identity, and
I can't imagine why people would think that.
Yeah.
I like when in these kinds of videos, the person who's supposed to represent the audience is like, oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, yes. I totally agree.
Oh,
yes.
I totally get it. Yes.
I was gonna say, what is this?
Definitely
is this like
an accurate representation of his audience.
I was gonna say, is this like some sort of like straw man? Is this like some sort of weird reverse straw man, where like you just pat yourself on the back with every single fallacious point you make?
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be a stand-in for.
It's supposed to be a stand-in for the audience.
Yeah,
but like it fails to do that because it's not skeptical or critical or like really like challenging him on anything, like except for like the very beginning. But now it's like we're not even halfway through this video and he's expecting you to just already be on his side.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, what if they're not though?
You can tell he's never been challenged on these.
I mean,
I don't think that he's probably not part of a social group where somebody would challenge him on this.
I mean, look at that confident fucking smirk right there. You tell me that he's ever been challenged on his beliefs.
No, I don't think he has.
Doesn't. Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say asexual kinksters? Yeah, why? Asexuals can be into kink?
No.
No, we'll see, Tenny. You haven't heard his arguments yet.
Exclusive. You should be inclusive.
I don't give a shit about this.
You know, do you guys remember the other video I was on for like the other kin shit? And it was just,
oh yeah.
And they were just like, they just seemingly identified as just all these things just for feel-goodisms.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It is all the same thing.
I'm literally going to start calling anybody who's woke a furry now.
Just do it.
Because they're just the same.
That's been the overarching theme of this entire project that we're endeavoring on, this Three Homos and a Pussy project.
It's been proving that everybody's a furry. You know what? This is the greatest. Oh, God. I'm joking.
But no, it's just all these things are the same. They're just all the same. They want to be so diverse and so like, I am this label and I am part of this community and I have this flag and it's just all the same. It's all the same. You're all part of the same blob of
Gender
nothing.
blob.
Yep.
The gender blob. Just you're not unique in any way. Just stop it. Just be a person. You know what makes you unique? Your personality. That's what makes you unique, not labels.
Yeah, that's what makes you unique. The things the habits you create, the relationships you form, the places you visit, not labels that you generate and take a pull out of a hat like a magician pulls a rabbit. The things that you engage in, the thoughts that are uniquely yours, and the things that you do, and the people you form relationships with, that's what makes you unique. Not all this rainbow glitter, like weird mental prolapse garbage.
Yeah, creating a 24-minute video one of a series of videos.
I'm sure they all retread the same stuff.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Well, that was the thing. He opened this up with saying this was his third video, wasn't it?
How many ways can you say asexuals can be anything?
Yeah.
There are all the ways that asexuals can be.
There you go. You just summed up all 3 videos in 5 seconds.
There is no definition. Get over it.
I mean, I can just about wrap my head around this idea of asexuals having sex, but, I mean, kink is a step beyond, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, I mean, it's not just sex, is it? It's fetish play. That weird stuff with the zip ties and things. Well, that's being a bit judgy. Also, zip ties, I think, are not recommended. They cut off the circulation too much. It's dangerous. Just use a braided rope. I wasn't looking for tips. Point is, yes, kink is about fetish, but fetish is not inherently about sex.
Wait.
Yes, it is.
Wait. Hold on. There's something very, very important to note here. How many of you knew that you don't generally use zip ties because it cuts off circulation?
I didn't know this.
I didn't know.
I mean,
I didn't know this either.
Yeah.
I didn't know this either, but he did.
Why
would he know that?
That's.
So a fetish, let's see. Noun, a form of sexual desire in which gratification is linked to an abnormal degree to a particular object, item of clothing, or part of the body, etc.
You wouldn't know that. Like that's look, really quickly, that is actually good advice, but like that's like something if like you're into BDSM.
Maybe he is
you have to
BDSM. Are you judgy?
Yeah, I think he is. It's once again he's trying to remove the sexual component from explaining.
But is he actually
to maintain hold on. Sexual identity?
I don't understand what the pleasure would be of BDSM if you don't have sex.
Yeah,
hold on. What if
that kind of?
What if this is a case of somebody whose partner was into it, but he himself was not, and he didn't want to stop the partner?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just like that the fact that he had that knowledge is so intensely incongruent with the rest of the stuff that he knows about and what he's claiming to be.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something you know unless you want to safe practice this stuff.
That's why I'm saying is that he's doing everything he can to maintain the asexual identity.
There's like
I don't think he feels it. I don't think he feels what he's describing.
I think he probably does have some sort of weird anxiety around sex.
He seems like he does, yeah.
I'd like he just needs to talk to somebody about this, like a therapist.
That's funny. That's what we said during the demisexual episode. It's just talk to people. You'll find out you're normal.
You know what the funny thing is? I also remember saying that exact same thing about Sappho.
Sappho's not normal.
Well, hey, you know what? Sappho is, for the last I heard, at least attempting to seek help, which, if true, good.
Supposedly.
I mean, the turnaround's too fast for my taste, but I don't want to be judgmental. Those people should legitimately seek out help. So if she is, that's good. But I also remember with the other kid video where it was just like I was going to probably end that video with seek out therapy, except they did seek out therapy. They just only sought out therapy that confirmation biased them.
Yeah, that affirmed them. Yeah.
Okay, now I know you're wrong. The whole point of kink is that it's sexual, isn't it? I mean, why else would they do it if they weren't actually having sex? Okay, so it would probably help if we define exactly what kink means. Although bear in mind that this is also stuff I have never done. I just looked it up on the internet a little. Hope you deleted your browser history. No.
Wait, no, that's actually something I forgot about. Yeah, he's saying that he's got
the V card.
Yeah, he's got the V card, and that he says he only knows about this stuff because he looked at. Dude, are you just into BDSM? You don't know how to find her. There are avenues for this. There's a lot of communities, like local communities and stuff, that try to help congregate people together who are interested in this stuff.
Yeah, like Craigslist and Discord.
well, actually, from what I understood, they tend to congregate around Telegram. But I mean,
that's a secret.
But like, no, like this is like an actual thing, though. I have been recommended these groups because it's a good way to try to. Well, I mean, no comment, but. But more or less, it's just so that way you can help network with people, so you can find ways to find people who would want to interact with this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
these groups exist to help people.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, I keep reiterating it, but I think he's just kind of avoiding accepting certain parts of himself to maintain this identity that he's really glommed onto, to the point where he's wearing lapel pins and making series of videos about it. This feels like somebody who's really in need of introspection and help.
Because it isn't to be ashamed of. A kink is a non-conventional arousal. This can be any number of things. It might be attraction to a certain part of the body. It might be to a certain power dynamic. It might be to a physical experience. It isn't all whips and handcuffs. Arousal, so it is sexual. There is undoubtedly a sexual element to a lot of it, and plenty of people do use it to...
Backpedaling in my own video because I can't get around the literal fact that this stuff is inherently sexual.
He lost to an argument with himself.
Sad.
How sad is that? Oh.
To enhance their sex lives, but the actual physical experience of being aroused by getting tied up, for example, does not always exist as a prelude to sex. It might just be that the feeling of nylon rope around your wrists and ankles does it for you on its own. Yeah, but if you go into a situation where you're volunteering to get tied onto a bed but don't want to get sex out of it, then what if the person who has tied you up does? Well, if they were to take advantage of someone in that situation, then that would be assault, and they would be a bad kink partner. At the centre of a kink dynamic like that is trust. You make your boundaries clear, and it is on the other person to respect them.
This is where all of this lies. He does not trust other people.
Maybe. Yeah, good point. I'm
trying to imagine this scenario where you get tied up and you're like, ooh, this rope sure feels good. And that's it. That's the only...
Yeah,
that's as far as it goes. You want me to do anything? No.
It's this person who's what it is. He's ran this scenario in his head, and he's gotten all the way through the situation, and then he's just like, "Well, what if I want to stop here then?" And they don't want to. This is an extremely elaborate situation that you have concocted here.
Yeah, one that I don't like what Comp was saying. I don't think that really exists in real life. I don't think that there's people that are willing to be BDSM tied up. And then it just stops. You
know what people who are into BDSM constantly preach as part of being a part of the BDSM community?
What?
Safe practice.
Yeah.
It's just like owning a gun. If you talk to a gun owner, one of the immediate first things they will beat you over the head with about owning or handling a gun is gun safety.
Are you saying that we need to practice penis safety?
Yes, we need to practice penis safety by removing all of them from all males. That I think that solves the issue. Wouldn't you agree?
Cobb, do you agree with that?
Sure. Sorry, I'm distracted by Milkman Dan.
You're gonna see you're distracted by.
Hey, it could be worse. You could be distracted like me, who's getting Dan's messages, text messages, and doing this video at the same time.
I'm getting messages from Dan, who, by the way, hi Dan. He is sitting in the just listening.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep him entertained.
them, and if at any point they are crossed or you are uncomfortable, then safe words come into play to prevent it going any further. In an ideal scenario, it is a safe environment for you to explore what precisely you are and are not comfortable with, where there's no fear of judgment or reprisals. I'm sorry, but I just don't feel like I trust it. I think a lot of that comes down to how it is often portrayed in the media.
Tools! Duct tape, zip ties, and gloves! I have to have my tools!
Well, why do you have a bunch of, weird tools in a hidden compartment in your car?
Fetish shit! I like to bind, I like to be bound!
TV shows and movies like to make it out to be this big, naughty taboo, this thing that only weirdos are into, or as a sign that the people doing
or serial killers.
Why do you think that's the case? Is it widely practiced by the general population? No. It's practiced by small, niche communities who are probably also into even weirder shit. This is pretty obvious.
And it's okay to like police that stuff and be like, hey, this is way too far. Like, you probably shouldn't be doing this. Like, remember, like, the first video we ever recorded, one of the side stories that was told by the Watts the Safe Word guy was that he had a friend that fucking asphyxiated himself to death because he had a kink for being choked. Like, it's okay to like say like, hey, maybe this is too far. Like, you shouldn't like not everything is okay under the sun. You need to have some standards.
I was gonna say that's why it was all safe practice with no actual bodily harm. Now, fortunately, and I don't think I'm gonna say that one because that one might be too saucy for YouTube. But there is a version of the BDSM play that really crosses that line hard. And it's hard to know if it is or isn't on that self-harm level.
Right. Yeah, because there's like people who are like into like cutting. Like, remember there was like
okay, we're just gonna say it, but yeah, blood play.
Yeah. There was that one. Remember did you ever see the documentary on the German guy that wanted to like had a sexual fetish for cannibalism, and he wanted to be eaten or wanted to eat somebody or something?
Yeah, the German Armin Meiwes. German.
Is this different than Vor or?
I actually killed the guy and ate him.
Oh.
And the guy was like a willing participant in it. It was weird, but like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like not everything is okay under the sun. It's okay to be like, hey, this is way too far. Like, even like just because somebody labels it as a kink doesn't mean it's like,
well, and that's
totally
always
valid.
The thing, is that like, you know, even if they're not like conscious of it, like anybody who's like, you know, writing the lines of kinks knows that they're or not writing the lines of kinks, but is like into kinks, knows that they're writing the line of being on like the verge of a mental disorder,
or like writing that line. Like, isn't that like, I'm a pretty vanilla person, but isn't that like add to the excitement of it? Is that it's like outside the norm and taboo? Like, isn't that why you kind of get an interest in it?
It depends. You know, exoticism is part of it for some people, for sure. People who are fatty and like aren't actually into it, but you know, I'm not gonna judge people. This is a judge-free zone, but
yeah, but I would think.
Is it a judge-free zone? I'm pretty sure we're a judge zone.
Yeah, we are a judge zone here.
We are pretty judgmental.
But it's sort of like I would think of it as like akin to like foodies, because like I'm a foodie. My husband's a foodie. Like, we like kind of like more out there exotic food.
Okay, so I see. You like to rub the whipped cream all over yourselves while
right,
you're
yeah. but it's like an exotic experience then, you know? Like, you get new experiences that you wouldn't otherwise get. Like, I guess that plays into it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a pretty vanilla
that's
person,
certainly. So. I was gonna say that's one of those things where it, like, much like sex, ironically, it's like an underlying motivating factor of it more than like I did. Okay, full disclosure, I'm fully talking out of my ass here because a lot of this stuff is not super studied and super understood super well. But it would seem to be the case that yes, this stuff is that this, you know, the people who practice this kind of stuff are into this kind of stuff. Partly because of the exoticism of it, but also probably because just weird wires crossing.
Yeah,
you realize that you are not as like easily interested in just vanilla sex, or you find out that you're interested in pretty much you're interested in vanilla sex, but you're also really interested in these other things, or you're curious about these other things.
Yeah, your teacher in kindergarten broke a heel and her shoe fell off, and bang, foot fetish.
Oh
no! But no, I mean that is part of it. Some of the, I mean,
well, yeah, a lot of people get fetishes for like cartoons they watch as a kid.
Well, and really quickly going back to like some of the porn stuff. So, some of this is like people. They get these like porn addictions like really bad, but then there's some people who they just have really, really high libidos.
Yeah, true.
And maybe we are conditioning people into it, though. I don't know.
What's it called with girls when they have
Nymphomania.
Yeah. Is there a male version of that? Is it gay?
Bisexual.
It's whatever David Duchovny had. I think it's just called
damn it. And you know what? Cavils isn't here either. This is kind of sad.
No, it's a shame. All right, let's keep rolling. We got a lot.
Oh god,
power through, guys.
Doing it are emotionally damaged and acting out.
Because I'm 50 Shades of fucked up.
And it's a really unfair brush community of people who are just consensually exploring their own desires with. There's nothing damaged or damaging about kink unless it's being done badly. And you say there are asexuals who are into that. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Since sexual attraction and arousal are separate, you keep saying, then you don't need to have attraction to the person you are participating in kink with. To keep using roleplay as the example, even though there are many other forms,
I'm just letting it be aware now. I don't have a point about what he said, but like, I'm just going to, from this point on the video forward, going to replace in my head anytime he says asexual with in the closet. And I feel like it's just gonna make this video flow so much more smoothly and easily.
I mean, that's kind of one of the angles I was taking on it. Like, I don't know. This is kind of like sad too. Just kind of seeing this guy lay it out like he's clearly wrestling with a lot of things.
I was gonna say because you pre-watched this. You pre-watched this for us before we watched this, right?
I watched it up until this section we're about to go into, which when we get to that section, we'll see if we want to cover it or not.
But yeah, my only reason for bringing that up is I could see now why you brought up the closet angle, because it really would explain so much of this.
I know, right? Like I said, I think he's struggling with a lot of things. And it is sad. I mean, there's, like I said, I mean, a few months after this, he came out as non-binary. Like he clearly has some issues going on where he's not comfortable with himself. You know what I mean?
It's something about YouTube where people who are really struggling have like real problems with their identity are able to go on YouTube and make videos that front as authoritative.
I'm going to expand that out further. I think it's just a social media phenomenon we're seeing.
That, yeah.
Just like, because our brains were not built to be this plugged in this often.
No. We'll see what the effects of the social media landscape is in decades from now. But yeah, I think that's where a lot of this comes from too. Yeah, so I scrubbed through the Pride section really quick just to refresh my memory on it. It's a lot of the same stuff we've heard before, except from like an asexual angle, except this time he's saying asexuals were there since the beginning.
Oh. Why do they all
we was asexuals?
We'll talk about it briefly, but yeah, I don't think it's worth watching. It's the same shit we've heard over and over again.
We was asexuals?
Yeah,
is that what I'm hearing?
We was asexual kangs.
He was trans. I still see the Marsha P. Johnson.
I know. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's like, come on. Go to the Wikipedia page. It says it right there.
You can meet up with people on message boards to tie you up the first time you meet them. Seems unsafe. Not my decision to judge, just be careful. But if you're just going to this person's place because you like the experience of being tied up, then you don't need to be attracted to them to enjoy that experience. So it makes sense that asexuals can enjoy participating in kink, even if they are sex indifferent or sex repulsed. Though I'll admit a sex repulsed person being into it seems unlikely, but you never know because that sort of thing is generally private, as it should be. Well, I don't know. I mean, if people want to talk about it, they shouldn't have to feel ashamed of it. What? Do you think they should be proud of it? I can see where this is going. I mean, think of all the people who might see.
Okay. All right. Let's stop. Does anybody feel like this is actually how this conversation goes organically?
Oh
no.
They don't know how real people talk. That's the issue.
This is again just like what we've been saying earlier. Being in the closet, being disgusted by Pride, but like still wanting to be in favor of it. Blah 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 blah.
Well,
it's just horribly redundant for us to stop and say all this. So let's just keep going.
I'm going to stop you right there and get to the point. You want to talk about kink at Pride?
No.
Please, you don't have to do this.
Then let's talk about kink at Pride.
Actually, let's not. And the main reason for that is because we've already done 2 videos on it. But I wanted to scrub ahead. Oh, go ahead, Ray. Did you want to say something?
This is me making a really minor point and kind of noticing something kind of funny is that because that shot was so long, I could literally see the dividing line of where the 2 different camera shots, like for lighting wise, was.
Oh yeah,
like I could actually see like the separation between him on the one side and him on the other side, obviously talking to himself.
I'm just going to say, I don't think WetaWorks was involved in making this video for the FX here. So we're going to skip ahead in this part because we've covered this twice already, this Kink at Pride discussion. But I was scrubbing through it and I found a part. I want you to notice how we've been talking about this guy where he's not quite, comfortable in his body. He really wants to be a part of this community, but he's not quite sure. He's like kind of dipping a toe in, and that's kind of what I feel that asexual identity really is just kind of dipping a toe in and wanting to be part of this community, but you're not really part of it because you don't meet the criteria, but you're going to create all these mental games so then you do meet the criteria. Just notice how fucking angry he is over this conversation. This is like him at his angriest in this video, and I'm going to skip ahead to it right now.
Oh boy.
Please go right ahead and tell me exactly what your issues are with Kink at Pride. Okay. But I still think if Pride is going to be this inclusive and fun event, Pride is not just a fun event, it is a fucking protest. And it was built by Kinksters. They have been here since Stonewall, from the very beginning. They went out there when the whole world was against them and marched and protested and fought for queer people's right to exist. We do not get to just drive them away from what they created over a new, invented moral panic, which, by the way, was almost exclusively pushed by far-right hate groups who want us all dead. There is no room for this discourse, and no one should give it any credence. I am done with that bullshit. Okay?
So that's like the type of anger that people have when they know that they're lying?
Yeah, I was going to say, first off...
It does sound overly defensive.
Right. His straw man says, isn't Kink or Pride supposed to be a fun event? And he says, Pride is not just a fun event. And it's like, well, like, I mean, in a literal sense, yes, it's supposed to be symbolic.
Shouldn't it be, though?
Thing. But yeah, that's the thing. Pride is supposed to be a fun event.
Yeah, and that's not really see, here's the thing, though. It's not really his determination to make, but he really wants to be a part of the community.
He suppose he's just
in what sense does he belong?
Well, that's just it. Do you suppose he's heterosexual and he can't find a way to involve himself at Pride?
I don't know if it's that, or like I said, I don't know if he's wrestling with bisexuality or homosexuality,
or he's like dealing with the fact that there are so many possible theories about this guy. Just this one video we've watched, because like, is it that he's closeted bi or gay? Is it that he's just straight but he wants to identify with the homosexual or not the homosexual, the LGBT community? Or is it that he is inherently disgusted by some of the things that is happening at Pride, but he can't wrestle the fact that he needs to stand in support of this stuff because of all of his other principles, quotation marks.
Yeah, and just think about that anger that he just showed, and then previously we heard how he's still a virgin, which is fine. I'm not dumping anybody for being a virgin. And that he said he had to look up all the kink stuff on the internet because it's not his thing. He's not into it. So why is he like so angry over this? Like this feels like remember those cringe SJW videos from years ago where it's Carl the cuck and but you're a white male, that kind of anger.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I love Big Red.
Yeah, it's like that,
anger.
Yeah,
I'm reading fuckface.
But it's like that. Like you want to show how angry you are for this marginalized community as a social display.
Well, you know what the funny thing about Big Red is too, and it's funny that we were able to somehow bring this up, is that Big Red was protesting at a men's rights gathering or whatever, and the thing is that much like this guy, it feels like the reason that she's so angry about it is that because she knows that her movement was fucking them in a lot of ways. With she wanted to solve some of the issues that they were bringing up, the custody battle problems, with it's an open secret, or it's a well-known fact that the custody system in America heavily favors women as the primary caregivers,
right?
And this I don't know if any of you have watched the Red Pill.
Yeah, the Cassie J.
Yeah. That movie was great. I honestly love it because
I wasn't. Well, I guess I wasn't a fan because I'm not a big fan of the MRA stuff, but it was a well-made film.
Well, Penny, your voice changed.
Yeah. Penny, your microphone got noticeably worse.
That was my thing about it, though, is that it wasn't even I'm not a huge MRA or anything like that, but the movie was made well, and it highlighted a lot of these issues. It's just these issues are not illegitimate issues. This is stuff that needs to be addressed,
right?
And this is stuff that these people are actively burying. And with something with a person like Big Red, she knew that she was actively harming people, and she probably was so angry at them and stuff because she didn't know how to reconcile this fact that she was harming people with her movement. And
that's in the previous video that we did where we talk about kink at Pride again. It's we brought up all the points of just how it's really harming people to do it and have this attitude. And I forget, Jesse Gender, right?
Yep.
Was the name?
Yep.
And was talking about how, it needs to be subversive always. And, you can't normalize these things, but not being normal is really harming people. And it's just all these contradictory points. And we repeated ourselves 40 times.
Trying to make yourself appear like you're the stronger and the weaker party simultaneously.
Right. And just the way that he was angry just there with the kink at Pride discussion, the way that he just shut it down is just, I think once again is kind of the reason that he's choosing the asexual identity, is because it's just not something that he wants to confront, and he just shuts it down. That seems to be, not to be an armchair psychologist, but that seems to be this guy's forte, is just shutting it down.
Well, and
you kind of get what I'm saying.
It's very
this kind of attitude towards it.
Yeah.
This whole thing is very theater kid.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, that's the other thing too.
I feel all these videos have been very theater kid-esque.
You're right.
Well,
I mean, attracts that type of person. Make these kinds.
Well, that's that. I was gonna say that's the thing about the thing that makes these people the kind of the people is it's a certain person that fits in kind of a certain mold that ends up creating a certain kind of activist. But really quickly, didn't he just talk about how there were asexuals who were disgusted by sex, and we have a hypersexual world right now, and he immediately wants to shut down any of the conversation about Pride.
He covers that in the section, but he does the same mental gymnastics that he's been doing this whole video.
But that's the thing, is that and I mean I believe you. We'll just totally take him out of context for this, because at 21 minutes and with the amount that we've seen, which is at minimum 13, I already kind of get I've gotten a good feel of this guy. But that's the thing, is that he knows the elephant in the room, but he just doesn't want to address it at all because he knows it's a glaring contradiction.
You're right. Right. Here, let's watch the conclusion. That's the next portion that we're in, and then we're done.
Oh, thank God!
I think that's probably enough for now. Let's wrap this up, shall we? The relationship between asexuality and sex is more complicated than people tend to make it out to be. We are often portrayed as entirely sexless. Some of this is of our own making, some of it is what others have projected onto us, but there are so many different ways that someone can feel about sex, and all of them apply across the whole of the ace community. There are people who are trying particularly hard to make our community look like we are sex negative, and using us as part of arguments to harm the queer community, and we have to allow more room for acceptance of sex-positive aces into the discussion if we want to fight against the false narrative that is being pushed about us. For all the aspects,
I don't know what the fuck false narrative he's talking about. That's not... I've never
the
seen
only
that.
false narrative here is the one that people like to create on a regular basis. Talking about how you can live this dichotomy between being asexual and also having sex and enjoying sex. If any false narrative is being pushed, that's the false narrative there.
I just want to point out really quickly, right? Because we were watching this video, and for give him credit, the editing's not that bad. It's pretty slick. It's not, it's a very passable grade on YouTube. It's definitely not anything professional, but it's, for amateur, it's very good. That being said, as contrast to what we're doing, how do you suppose without all the slick editing, without all the music in the background and stuff and everything else, that editing this video together and just realizing you're ranting at a camera for probably who only knows how long, because who knows how much of this was left on the cutting room floor.
I'm always struck how empty these kinds of videos are once you kind of take away any attempt at fancy editing or visuals or music or aesthetic. Once you take all those elements away and you're like, okay, what's the actual content underneath it? What are the ideas being communicated? And it's all just kind of platitudes and things that other people say being repeated back and saying, well, this is true, but also this is true. And also we, in general, these rules don't apply to these people. And it all just gets thrown out. All the rules that they set up, they just knock down in the next sentence. Asexuals are this, except some asexuals are like this. And then others don't even identify that way, but they're still valid. And then others do whatever, but that's their business and they can do whatever they want. So by the end, you haven't actually made any claim.
Well, and this is the other thing too, is that this whole video just seems like, in the editing phase, it was just him ranting at a camera for a really long time and occasionally looking at notes or something that he had written down.
I mean, and it's
I can't imagine.
It's gonna be a lonely experience.
I was gonna say I can't imagine how the raw of this looks like. Just how absolutely depressing it must have just been to watch it back. Because just to really quickly talk about my own experience on YouTube, one of the reasons I actually think that the anonymity format is superior is because anytime I had to do re-recordings or whatnot, and I was in the editing software, I could just do that by just really quickly opening my program, making sure my audio levels were good, and making sure my background noises were all great, doing a line read, then playing it back immediately, and then putting it in the editing software, and then just going along with the editing. With this stuff, you have to get in front of a camera. The lighting's got to be good. If you're doing makeup, you got to do the makeup. If you're doing costume work, you got to do the costumes. I mean, any time you have to do a retake of something, it takes so much effort.
Yeah.
The bit where I do my best to validate you. No matter how you experience your relationship to sex, you are ace enough. You can be ace and have a lot of sex, or you can be ace and have no sex at all. There isn't a way for you to do it wrong. If you still haven't figured out how you feel about it, then take as long as you need. It is your body and your journey, and no one can tell you how you are.
It's just him just reaffirming to himself the things that he just already feels.
Yeah.
This is just a repeat. Asexual means nothing as a word. It has
no,
definition.
but just further than just that is just like, I could sit here, I can deny reality for as long as I want, I could think about this for as long as I need to. I could be in this phase and make no progress for as long as I feel is necessary. I mean, that almost to me feels like what he just said to the camera.
Yeah, well, he is talking to himself.
I was going to say, the person who saw this video before anyone else had to be him.
Sad video. Very sad.
I know. I'm sorry. This is where Ray has turned this into a absolutely miserably fucking depressing experience.
Don't worry, it was already miserably depressing before you.
Oh yeah.
Hey, at least we could laugh about it a little bit.
So, how long until we just watch a video of a man having a mental breakdown on this show?
I think we just did.
I think we've seen it several times, to be honest.
How to feel about it. Okay, so is that the end of the video? Yeah, just about. I need to do the credits, and I've got a quick thing I want to announce. Do you need me around for that? No, I think your usefulness as a gimmick is worn out for now. Okay, so should I
just look at the dichotomy of these two shots. Look at how happy and excited he is to make these stupid straw mans, and then I don't know how much longer we gotta look at this. Look at just how depressing and beaten down and just he just got done crying he looks in this shot.
Yeah, this is post the Kink at Pride anger too. He didn't do a costume change or anything. It looks like he just did it all in one shot. So.
And that's the thing.
This is you know what? It really strikes me. Very little charisma. Any sense of he's not particularly funny or interesting or engaging or thoughtful. He can't get over.
And I would skip back to the beginning of this video, the contrast as to how he started. But I don't think we want to do that and then have to remember where we're at.
Oh, hell the fuck no.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's just I'm certain him doing this this rant, more or less ranting to himself section was done first, and then him getting in front of the camera and being the straw man was done afterwards.
Maybe, yeah, because
you know what? To be honestly, yeah, I was going to say, to be honest, maybe the order doesn't really matter. The only thing I'm trying to point out is this one had to be all one giant take from beginning to end when he's doing the ranting section, because obviously he's wearing something completely different in the other one.
Yeah.
And by the end of this one, he you could just kind of tell that he's just trying to convince himself of what he's experiencing here.
That's a common theme of all the videos that we've seen too, especially the two What's the Safe Word the Kink at Pride one.
Well, that was
them trying to convince themselves. Sappho was trying to convince
themselves.
The other
kids were trying to convince themselves.
The porno one we watched was definitely him trying to convince himself.
What was the other one what was the other video I was here for that Gabbles was actually here?
I don't remember that.
But fuck. It's not super important. I just was trying to remember it because in case it was actually another case of just these people who are just deluding themselves. Because either they have something that conflicts, they're what's the term? Is it cognitive dissonance?
Yeah, cognitive dissonance.
Dissonance.
Yeah,
and they just don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of that, and we've definitely seen a lot of that today in this video. Let's see if there's anything left to cover.
I was gonna say we got 2 whole minutes.
I don't think there's much left.
Yeah.
No, I just want lines for you. So first off, the announcement.
I'm sorry, that was the most depressing part of this.
All right, let's see the announcement. It might be shocking.
If you look to the side of this video, you will see that there is a link to a fundraiser. This is a feature.
All right, I think we're done. Yeah. Fundraiser is. Let me see. Hang on. Fundraiser is the LGBTQ Freedom Fund. Give money to help queer people in incarceration. Oh my god!
Oh no!
I'm really gonna do that. Are a bunch of them wife beaters?
How many of those
lesbians
people in prison are wanted for sexual offenses? Let's take a look at those.
You know what? Before we ruin our monetization so far that YouTube feels the need to take action against us for the horrible things we said in this video.
What monetization?
Well, you could get to a point where it goes beyond just demonetizing you. Let's not get to that one. I was just gonna make a joke about how I don't think Cav wants a community strike.
Yeah, that'd be bad,
want, bro. We're a free speech zone. I just cut out anything I think will get me in trouble.
But I don't know. And maybe it was just the way that we were like at the end of this, just kind of looking at like how this video had to be made and like, you know, kind of viewing it like through that lens. But the moment he literally does the part where he flashes back to himself, like his other self, and it's just that empty couch. He really did, in my mind, just dichotomize how depressing this was.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you know, you have to line those two shots up back to back each other, probably without music going in the background.
Yeah, there's no, like, you get done with or like any kind of animation. It's just very weird.
He interspersed like 2 or 3 movie clips.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they weren't organic feeling at all. They felt very forced.
Yeah, I was gonna say the 50 Shades of fucked up. Like it didn't fit. It wasn't necessary, and that was like literally one of the worst lines from that entire movie trilogy.
So, in conclusion, what's our thoughts? Is asexuality a valid identity? Were we convinced?
I think asexuals exist. I think it's a very narrow and specific condition, though. I don't think if you're running around and sleeping with people and having kinky sex, I don't think you're asexual.
Seems to be something that's tied specifically to other things going on.
Yep.
And like I was saying, I mean, you know, libido, sexual attraction, that kind of ebbs and flows with life. You know, like I don't think a lot of 80-year-olds are getting horny like they would when they were 18. You know what I mean?
I don't want to think about that, but okay.
Thanks, Jimmy. But yeah, I mean, I'm not any more convinced than I was when I started the video. So
here's my conclusion to this video. This video has convinced me that I need to go back to college and I need to get my my psychology degree, and then I need to get like another degree that's like an actual science, so that way I can be respected. And then I need to use this funding money to not do anything with that science, but instead further along the idea with my psychology major that a disorder known as severe deficient libido syndrome is actually a thing. And then I'm going to get it published in the DSM-5 and then or 6 or whatever we'll be on. And then once I do, I'm going to take it. I'm going to find this guy in real life. I'm going to just put in front of his face and I'm just going to say to him, "This is what you are. Not asexual."
But then he can't be part of the club.
Oh no. Not the club.
Well, too bad. Clubs exist to get old and torn down with the passage of time.
Well, Tenny, you got any closing thoughts?
I don't really have much else to say. I think we've all covered it sufficiently well. This is just a guy trying to rationalize the fact that I don't think he's ever had sex, and so he's trying to rationalize that into something that doesn't make him seem pathetic. I think that he's just repeating...
to be clear, just because you haven't had sex doesn't mean you're pathetic for all the virgins that are watching us.
Yeah, he may feel
it just means that Tenny thinks you're pathetic.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he feels internally that he is, wrongfully.
But I feel like he's just parroting the same talking points, especially during the Kink at Pride bit that we've seen from other people that we've covered on this program, where it's same shtick over and over. Pride was a riot. It's a protest. It's not a family-friendly event. It's rebellion against society and started by this group, that group, which goes completely against what actually occurred, as Danimal has informed us on multiple occasions. And I think that it is bland. it's just quite bland and silly. The word asexual here just means whatever he wants it to mean.
Well,
even if he can't be in the, even though he might not be asexual, he can still be in the club because he is mentally ill.
I did not say that.
Although it's true, he can be part of the queer community, I guess, if he's mentally ill.
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there.
I do want to go back to something that we talked about earlier about how this seems to be his whole personality. And I feel it's important to bring this up because I feel like a lot of young people, a lot of young LGBT people are using sexual orientation as a substitute for a personality. To give themselves a sense of community or to give themselves a sense of uniqueness so they can feel special. And I want to just give a brief message to anybody out there who might be LGBT, who might be watching. You don't have to be a part of any queer community to be unique. You don't even have to be a certain sexuality to be unique. That doesn't make a person unique. Who you're erotically or romantically interested in, that doesn't make you special. It doesn't make you worse or better than anybody else. It's just part of who you are, and it's something you should be ashamed of, something you should glorify. It's just how you are. It's the way God made you. If you want to really be a unique individual, if you want to stand out and be an exceptional person, somebody that people will remember, you should go out and actually live your own life. Form relationships with people that are meaningful. Whether they can be with other LGBT people, they can be with straight people, they can be with anybody, family members, friends, coworkers, and have your own interests outside of just being gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender. If you can bring your own interests and hobbies and relationships to the table, that is what makes you a unique person. That is what makes you someone worth hanging out with, someone worth remembering, someone worth starting a family with. Don't try to say, I'm an individual because I'm part of a group.
Or constrict I just want to add one thing. Or constrict yourself because of that identity.
Exactly. Just because you're gay doesn't mean you have to like things like Pride Parade or drag clubs or the birdcage.
Like just because you're a pedophile doesn't mean...
All right, we're not going to...
The point is, don't use your sexuality as an excuse to not form your own relationships, to have your own interests. Don't rely on a false sense of community to give yourself meaning.
Sound advice.
Pretty much said all that I needed to say.
Yeah, that's all good advice, Tenny. Excellent. Excellent job there.
And I think we can sort of conclude on that. So,
I think we can.
Yeah.
All right.
Look, I just want to say...
thanks for stopping by. What do you just want to say, Ray? Make it quick. We got to end this.
I just want to say congratulations, Danimal, on your happy Father's Day. I'm so proud of you and your husband for finding a way to finally prove that AimPreg is in fact a real thing.
We did welcome a happy baby boy. Yeah, I was AimPreg. Over and over.
So far. Go.
Oh well. I'll DM you the details.
I'm sorry.
All right. I would say, on that note, I think I'm going to say goodbye, boys.
Okay. Goodbye, boys.
All right.
Goodbye, boys. And remember, God made you special and he loves you very much.
Shut up.
Bye,
Larry.